Welcome back to a new episode of Ticking Gray Bomb Refined Taste for Idiots. I'm Mex.
I'm Mace.
What up, all? It's been a little while since we recorded, but special time because we are here at the tail end of Watches and Wonders. Tons of content, tons of great content on YouTube about new releases, right? As always, Rolex releases dominate the field. And we're here today. We're going to talk a little bit about our impressions of the Rolex releases for 2023 coming out of Watches and Wonders. So we'll start with a wrist watch check. Mace, what are you wearing today?
I've got that Fratello Aquastar limited edition on. Been wearing this quite a bit. This is the one with the ice blue dial. Did a little video a few weeks back. Just super easy to wear. Kind of forget about it. Love it.
It's really a good looking watch, Mace. And like I said, I know you were hunting the Doxas for a little while. I think that is a far superior model. You got lucky with that purchase.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm wearing another limited edition here. I think I've worn this before. It's my Alinghi Royal Oak Offshore limited edition titanium in honor of what I felt was a theme for this year's Watches and Wonders, which was titanium metal in terms of cases, bracelets, etc. So, Mace, where do you want to take us today from your impressions of Rolex's Watches and Wonders releases?
Yeah, I thought maybe we'd have a discussion about what we hated, what we loved, take it or leave it, and then what departs and what the new arrivals are. So I thought I'd start with what I what I hated. Rolex didn't do a whole lot. I mean, a couple of things, but kind of the reaction from the people in Geneva about the watch, like kind of falling over themselves, throwing praise at Rolex, and just kind of taking a take like, and I don't know if they have these personal relationships that they have to kind of keep up that fanboy persona and just kind of keep, yes, this is amazing. And honestly, what did they do? Made some kind of childish dials for the OP and the day date, a mix of kind of new precious metals, little tweaking here and there, putting a couple of models on the sideline. I didn't think they did a whole lot. So I don't get this kind of overwhelming reaction from folks. So that's kind of the first thing that kind of pissed me off about a lot of the media coming out and all the kind of reactions to it. So that didn't strike me well.
Yeah, look, what I could tell you is I know exactly what you're saying. I had the same reaction to Rolex's releases last year at Watches and Wonders, right? Because it's like, dude, a new bracelet doesn't constitute as innovation or excitement, or anything, right? I think last year, the Sprite was the big talk of last year's release, right?
With the left-handed crown. That's the only thing I remember from last year.
Right? Color scheme on a bezel or different, but what I think. So here's what I think, honestly, and not to sugarcoat this, because we saw the same thing with others. I mean, Lange did not have many exciting releases, right? They're big fans of just changing metal, right, and making a limited edition, right? This is one of 100. And I think for most, and Rolex might not be in this category, but for most watchmakers today, it's hard to come out with a new watch, right? They're restricted on materials. They're restricted on watchmakers. And so I wonder if this is what we're going to be seeing more of, right? Because clearly we have a lot of content. People want to produce more videos. We're seeing more of the watchmakers during the year. And I wonder if we're just going to have to tolerate these big parties where all the watch companies announce is, hey, it's a new colorway, it's a new metal, but basically it's the same watch design.
I completely agree with you, but that doesn't mean I have to drink from the Kool-Aid. I mean, I just kind of shrug my shoulders like, why is everyone so excited about this? So kind of that's for me the first thing. The second thing is, I mean, these childish dials on these kids' watches, and I think that this is completely different than kind of palm fronds, right? I think that is at least kind of a cohesive look. I mean, I look at the Bubbles watch and I see kind of Peter Max, kind of this pop artist in the 60s, 70s. And, this is why I brought up the Peter Max comparison. Here's the watch. And look, you can see kind of this very colorful
Yeah.
background here. Here's another one. So, that's what it reminded me right off the bat. To me, very strange. And it, kind of $6,000. Man, that's a lot of money to spend on something. And I think this is also a lot of people falling over themselves to say like how great this particular watch looked. The other thing I wanted to mention is if Rolex with their Jigsaw Puzzle day date had actually done this in conjunction with, because it reminded me of kind of here in the States, we have these kind of not bumper stickers, but these magnets that you put on the back of the car, raising awareness for autism. And that's what this looked like to me. And so if they had kind of come out and said, we're doing this for a cause and we want to raise awareness for autism, then I would have said, you know what, this makes a lot of sense. I could get behind that. But without that, it does look very childish to me.
I think that OP bubble and the day date puzzle, those were the silliest ones. I mean, my first reaction when I saw the day date puzzle was WTF, right? You probably, yeah, you definitely had I would say, a more refined reaction to it because you connected it with something. I said, this is literally for someone who has a lot of money to flush down the toilet. I don't know anyone who, it's playful, but not at the price point. Certainly for people like us, not at the price point where Rolex is marketing this, right? It's interesting. So Waco, and again, Waco is in this category of person who probably has a lot of money to throw away. He hypothesized that it would be great to buy an OP Bubble 31 to wear on your offhand as a bracelet. That's like Marie Antoinette saying, if they don't have enough to eat, let them eat cake, right? That doesn't ring true for me as a value for this piece. So really, you have to wonder, why were these two pieces created? Yes, they're playful. I think, Mase, you made a great point, kind of alluding to showing the illusion of the Peter Max art. Not sure if that was an inspiration, but this looks like a goddamn $7,000 swatch. Right. And it's funny. So someone had made a comment on one of the channels that I reviewed or I watched for the Patek releases for Watches and Wonders, which we'll talk about in a subsequent video. But someone had said, hey, look, the 6007S or 6007G looks like a kind of Patek inspired swatch, right? Nice job kind of injecting some youth into the Patek collection, but it still looks like a real Patek, right? This one looks like a truly overpriced swatch, the OP Bubble, right? I'm talking about now.
Yep.
The date, I mean, especially with the date window is showing emojis and the day window is showing emotions. Yeah. I mean, it's like, guys, what planet are we living on?
Right. And, they get criticized for not doing much, right? And then they do this and, they go like, they fall off a cliff. I mean, it's like way too far.
Philosophically, we're definitely aligned, right? But we're also two boomers, right? Yeah. And to a certain extent, I feel like, particularly the day date puzzle, right? Because if we look at challenging the watch, and I've seen a lot, the watch industry and the format of a watch, right? Because it's like no one wears a watch because today in 2023, they need to know the time. They need to know the day of the week. They need to know the date, what date it is, right? And so in a way, if we want to deconstruct those things, right, this could be a good way to do it. But again, it's like, I feel like, so I think conceptually they may be onto something, at least with the day date, but the execution was not good, right? I think it's a boomer.
It's not a tumor. not a tumor.
Trying to connect with a younger generation of watch enthusiasts, right? And saying what they could want, what they would need from a watch. But again, it's like execution wise, it rings a little hollow here for me.
I'm Gen X, so I just want you to know
Okay.
and since I was born before you,
Yeah,
you're Gen X as well.
that would make me.
Yeah. So I don't want to.
I'm talking more philosophically.
No,
here
I get it. I get it.
Hard demographic.
So who does this appeal to, right? I mean, this is
That's
kind of like
that's what I want to hear from
mid
Rolex.
20s and
I'd
mid
like
20s.
to
Like
hear
I know in my mid 20s, my student debt and my kind of paying off my car and my first apartment and all that kind of stuff. Like I don't have $6,000 laying around to buy, throw on a watch that was kind of like kidding around. You can't take me seriously.
Yeah, but well, look, I mean, but it's different, right? We're not part of a generation that the only thing they've seen in their professional lives is part of the biggest expansion in American history.
True.
Right. And I always hate to say kids today, right? Because then I do feel like a boomer. But the disposable income that's at their fingertips is much larger than anything we had until we got into our mid 30s. Anyway, just something to think about. And so you and I talked about this offline when we talked about some of the new collections. I mentioned the kind of demographic perspective, right? The age perspective. But the other thing we don't have perfect visibility on is what's happening in other regions of the world. And the watch producers, right? These watchmakers are really looking to Asia as the next level of collecting. And I wonder if they're getting feedback from their key collectors and the influencers that they follow in Asia that these things have value. So that's possible. But again, I'd like to really hear from Rolex around what's the inspiration for these watches.
What do we love? Do you want to take that first?
Yeah. So, I'll tell you what. So there's not much that I would say I loved. Okay. Because I'm not a Rolex fanboy. Rolex doesn't speak to me necessarily, but I really enjoyed, again, it's like I look at the 60th anniversary Daytona, right? And again, I'm not a Daytona fan. I didn't love what they did with the dial, right? And they made some key changes, which I think are interesting, but I neither hated nor loved. But with the movement refresh, right? So it's a new, I guess it's caliber, the 4131. They put in a display case back, right, and showcase that movement, which I think is a nice move for Rolex, right?
That's on the anniversary model, right?
Yes, it's on the 60th anniversary day. Correct. Which I think is nice. I think that's a nice touch. And I think they did it also with that, the Cellini replacement, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And it's not, again, Rolex, tool, the ultimate tool watch, does it really matter if we show off a movement? So these are tough watches designed to sustain really, really challenging conditions, either, above the surface, below the surface, what have you. Functionally, we know these are luxury timepieces, right? That's what they're marketed as today. And it's nice for Rolex to refine the movements enough to show them off. And I think it brings them into a different class, or it puts them at a level playing field with some of the peers in the same class as they are, showing off some nice movement. So I like that piece. I think that was the thing I liked the most. I also liked to be honest, I did like the titanium Yachtmaster. I like the look. I like that kind of the black ceramic bezel. I think this is a good look. I mean, I would, dare I say, I would actually consider wearing one of these.
I like the Yachtmaster. I'm kind of surprised to say that. I kind of like the way that bezel looks. The fact that they made it titanium to me is kind of like, all right, I know they did the deep sea challenge. I don't know, 6 months ago.
Right.
I did happen to see one when we visited Portugal. I didn't ask to take it out of the case. But I did see it. But this is kind of their second watch in titanium, and it kind of seems like, I don't know, just kind of catching up with some of the other brands by kind of doing.
Good point.
So it didn't feel to me to be kind of that aggressive.
Very aggressive.
I wouldn't say I loved a whole lot necessarily. I'd say I like some things. I kind of like the GMT Master with kind of the black and maybe a dusty gray bezel. Called
Dusty
it.
Rhodes.
So, but once again, it's kind of just switching things. It was in stainless, now it's in two-toner. It's in stainless, and now it's kind of in gold. And so that to me doesn't excite me all that much. I did like the new dials on the Sky Dweller. I mean, but that's Sky Dweller is not my favorite watch in the world, but I did like
Right.
that blue and the
That-
green.
yeah, that mint blue. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And then the 1908, I think was nice. Just kind of, I'm not sure if that's to compete with the Calatrava.
Definitely
Maybe
is.
Rolex trying to kind of, up its game. I think that was about 22 gram, which I thought was, pretty steep. So that's kind of, for me, that's kind of in my love it, like it kind of category. All right. So now for our take it or leave it category. I had mentioned kind of the titanium, the kind of going from stainless steel to titanium, stainless steel to, yellow gold. Not a big deal to me. Explore at 40. I just kind of shrug my shoulders. Not a big deal to me. I don't, changing a size to me is not that exciting. And I think that's it. What about you, Max?
Yeah, I mean, not a lot to take here. I think I could leave just about everything. Again, I like that titanium Yachtmaster. I'm a fan of the Sky Dweller, but I don't know. I mean, I feel it at 42, 43 mil. I mean, it's a big watch, right? Um, so just because they threw a new dial on there, am I super motivated to get out there and buy one? So yeah, I'd say most of these I could leave. Certainly the 1908 base is definitely a lever. That's the Cellini moon phase was one of the most elegant watches I've known, right? The problem though is, let's be honest, Cellini was truly the dog of the Rolex collection. I just don't see this model of 1908 taking those dress watch sales up a notch, right? Rolex should have just killed it entirely, right? We're a sports watch company. We're going to make sports watches.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of competition at that price. At 22 grand?
For what it is.
Yeah.
Why would you buy that?
Yeah. I mean, it's gold. I mean,
Okay, so
they're
what?
trying to just, no, I'm just saying, it's just, that's how
Buy
they
a
justify it, right?
Saxonia moon phase,
Right.
right? Buy a Calatrava, buy a Patek. That's
Yeah.
Clearly that's what this is chasing. That's why it's priced this way.
Right.
But if you couldn't sell the Cellini moon phase, you're not going to sell this.
And that takes us to you say goodbye and I say hello. Um, you mentioned the Cellini got killed off, replaced by the 1908. We don't have to necessarily dwell on that. But the other one, the Milgauss, I think had a lot of enthusiasm about a year ago. People were talking it up, and maybe that is a byproduct of not being able to get your hands on any of the other Rolex models, right? We all know what happened with Rolex. They're not selling them in the ADs. You had to go to secondary market, and maybe the Milgauss is one that you could get your hands on if you're on a waiting list. So I think the Milgauss was an interesting model. It had it showed a little bit of personality, a little bit of playfulness. I mean, not as playful as balloons and jigsaw puzzles,
Puzzle.
but I thought the kind of lightning bolt seconds hand was kind of cool. And the Air King still lives on. Who knew? No one wants it. I think it's ugly. They made a big deal last year, right, about the 5 minute mark, right? Didn't they added the 0 to the 5, so it was 0 5, and that was supposed to create a whole lot of symmetry to the watch. Not a big deal to me. So, any thoughts on the comings and goings?
No, I think you nailed it, Mace. I mean, between the Cellini and the Milgauss, I think both were rumored to be on the chopping block for a few years now. Totally agree with your assessment on Milgauss. It was unloved for a long time, but it became kind of an entry to the Rolex brand on the secondary market, right? Because it was unloved. I felt like, look, this is the ultimate tool watch, right? To perform at 1,000 Gauss, right? In these high magnetic environments that 99.9% of humans will never interact in, right? But it's just, again, it's designed for this harshest conditions, right? A special condition glass. Um, but again, you have that green face, or one of the options is the green face when everything, lately everything is super hot at green. You might have orange in some of the indices, which again gives the watch a little bit more color. Again, I don't want to call it playful given the environment for which it's designed, but it has that color variation, which could be part of could be a nice part of a collection. I'm surprised they killed it. I do wonder if the conditions within which it has to be manufactured, that was one of the considerations, because there's extra cost into that watch than maybe making a GMT or a sub or whatever.
So that's it. That's Rolex Watches and Wonders for us. I think it's a meh. Um, don't think it deserves the praise that's getting thrown its way for kind of changing metals, going from 36 to a 40. Not a big deal. So be on the lookout for our next video. We'll be looking at some of the other brands and some of our favorite releases. So see you next time.
Like and subscribe. Bye bye.